On September 26, 1983, the world slept peacefully, unaware that it was minutes away from the closest nuclear war in human history. At a secret Soviet early warning base called Serpukhov 15, a man named Stanislav Petrov sat in a dim command center, surrounded by blinking screens, humming computers, and the constant low tension of the Cold War. Petrov wasn't supposed to be the officer on duty that night. He was filling in. A coincidence that would soon decide the fate of the planet. Just after midnight, the monotonous silence of the control room was shattered by a deafening siren. On the main screen, a single word appeared in bold red letters. The Soviet satellite Oko had detected a nuclear missile launched from the United States, aimed directly at the USSR. The computer system confirmed it as a high-certainty strike. For a moment, no one in the room moved. Officers stared at the red screen, their faces turning pale. They had drilled this scenario countless times, but drills never felt like this. Never felt real. Petrov rushed to his console. His heart pounded, but his mind sharpened. His job was to verify whether this was a real American attack or a false alarm. His decision would be passed directly to the Soviet High Command. A confirmed American missile launch meant only one thing: immediate nuclear retaliation. The seconds ticked by, every eye in the room focused on Petrov. He knew the system. He knew its strengths and weaknesses. But tonight, the computer insisted the United States had fired the first shot. Then, another alarm. The satellite detected a second missile, then a third. The screen now displayed 3 American intercontinental ballistic missiles incoming. The pattern suggested a strategic first strike, small, precise, designed to take out Soviet command centers before they could respond. Petrov felt the weight on his chest. If he reported this as a confirmed attack, the Kremlin would launch thousands of nuclear warheads toward the United States and NATO countries. The world would end in less than an hour. The officers around him waited for his orders. Some whispered, "We must report it. It's an attack. We have to respond." But something didn't feel right to Petrov. Why would the United States launch only a few missiles? Why not hundreds? Why not a full strike, as every military plan predicted? His instincts screamed that something was off. The alarms continued. The red lights flashed like urgent heartbeats. Every second that passed increased the pressure. If he delayed too long and it was real, the USSR would suffer a devastating first strike. But if he gave the green light to retaliate, the world would burn. Petrov closed his eyes for a second and made his decision. He stood up and spoke with a calmness he didn't feel. "This is a false alarm." The room froze. No one spoke. Someone whispered, "Are you sure?" Petrov repeated, "False alarm. Do not report it as a confirmed launch." It was the most important decision made by any human in the 20th century, and he had only seconds to make it. The command center fell into a stunned silence after Petrov rejected the computer's warning. But the danger wasn't over. The satellite system continued sending alerts. A fourth missile appeared on the screen, then a fifth. 5 American missiles, according to the computer, were already in the air. The officers around Petrov exchanged terrified glances. Some stepped away from their stations, unsure whether they were witnessing the beginning of World War III. Others whispered that Petrov's decision could doom the Soviet Union. The pressure intensified. Soviet protocol required Petrov to confirm or deny the attack within minutes. Every passing second meant losing valuable reaction time if the alarms were correct. The whispering in the room grew louder. What if he's wrong? What if the missiles are really coming? This could be the end. Petrov felt those words like needles. He understood the magnitude of his decision. The Soviet early warning system had cost billions and was considered state-of-the-art. Entire teams of engineers had insisted it could not fail. But Petrov wasn't convinced. Something about the alert still didn't make sense. He stood over the map of the United States projected on the central screen. The alleged launch sites were in known American missile fields, but the number of missiles detected was wrong. 5 missiles were enough to anger the Soviets, but not enough to cripple them. No American first strike strategy looked like this. The entire point of a nuclear first strike was overwhelming force, hundreds of missiles, a simultaneous barrage, a blow intended to erase any chance of retaliation. But five made no strategic sense at all. Petrov leaned closer to the screen, searching for any irregularity. He asked the radar operators for confirmation. They reported no incoming missiles on ground-based radar stations. All detection came only from the satellite system, a system that had a known weakness. It struggled to interpret sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds during equinox periods. And this night, September 26th, was close to the fall equinox. Petrov realized something. The angle of the sunlight, the thin atmosphere, and the satellite's detection algorithm might be creating false thermal signatures. He crossed his arms, thinking. If he reported this as an attack, he would follow Soviet protocol perfectly. No one could blame him. The system said the launch was real. But if he reported it, millions would die. Cities would disappear. Humanity might not recover. The responsibility weighed on him like a physical force. No training could prepare someone for this moment. But Petrov relied on something no machine had: human intuition. The officers watched him as if he held the fate of the world in his hands, which he did. One of the younger officers finally spoke up. "Comrade Petrov, what do we tell command?" Petrov looked at the flashing red warning screen. Then he looked at the terrified faces around him. He inhaled slowly. "We tell them," he began. "We tell them it is a false alarm. Again." Gasps echoed across the room. 2 officers stepped back in shock. Another grabbed the edge of a desk. Petrov, however, didn't flinch. He repeated, louder this time, "It is not an American attack." And with those words, he went against the machines, against the system, and against everything he had been trained to do. Minutes later, the satellite signals stabilized. No missiles appeared. No warheads exploded. The world remained intact. But at that moment, no one in the command center knew that yet. The countdown was still ticking, and the fate of the world still hung by a thread. The alarms continued to flash relentlessly. Red lights reflected off the walls, the screens showing missile launches in bold letters. Every officer in the Serpukhov 15 command center was frozen, eyes glued to the displays, their minds racing with the implications. Stanislav Petrov leaned forward, analyzing every blip, every data line, every signal from the satellite system. His training screamed that the alert could be true, but something didn't add up. 5 missiles? A full-scale American first strike would have been hundreds, not 5. The protocol was clear. Report a confirmed attack immediately. Delay could mean disaster. The officers around him whispered anxiously, their voices tight with fear. Comrade Petrov, should we report it? This is not normal. The system never lies. Petrov's heart pounded. He knew that the decision he made in these next moments could either ignite a global nuclear war or prevent it. He closed his eyes for a second, listening to his instincts. Then calmly and firmly he spoke. This is a false alarm. Do not report it as a confirmed launch. The room fell silent. Some officers could not believe what they were hearing. One stepped back, muttering, "Are you sure?" Petrov repeated, louder this time. "False alarm. Repeat. No confirmed launch." Outside, the early warning satellites continued to register the same anomalies, but Petrov's knowledge of the system told him the readings were misleading. Sunlight reflected off high-altitude clouds, confusing the sensors. He had chosen human judgment over blind faith in technology. The sirens continued, but Petrov stood firm. Minutes passed, then signals stabilized. The satellites no longer reported incoming missiles. He had made the right call. After those tense minutes, the alarms stopped. The Soviet Union had not launched a single retaliatory missile. The world remained intact, oblivious to how close it had come to annihilation. Petrov quietly documented the incident. At the time, no one praised him. It was not a public victory, it was an invisible one. His superiors didn't fully understand his reasoning, yet he had followed his instincts and expertise. Years later, after the Cold War, the story emerged. Historians and military analysts confirmed that his decision had prevented what could have been a nuclear catastrophe. Petrov, a quiet lieutenant colonel, had saved millions of lives with a single courageous choice. The incident is now remembered as a testament to human judgment, the power of intuition, and the responsibility that falls on the shoulders of one individual during moments of extreme pressure. In history, not all heroes are celebrated immediately. Some work in silence, letting their actions echo across decades. Stanislav Petrov was one of those heroes. If you found this story gripping, subscribe to Echoes of History, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and help us keep these crucial historical stories alive.